My beloved child, do you know that the most fearful thing in the journey of faith is not that I am silent, nor that I have forgotten you, but that you yourself, the one who once wept, knelt, and cried out to me in the night, let go, allowing your heart to grow cold just as the spiritual clock is about to strike. When I say, but the one who endures to the end will be saved, Matthew 2:4-1-3, that is not only a promise, but a warning bell I ring for those who are growing weary right at the threshold of glory. Have you ever realized that many have walked a long journey of faith only to drop the blessing right at the final doorway? It is not because they lacked faith, but because they were too exhausted to believe one more time. They think that I have forgotten, when in reality, I am simply finishing what I began. People quickly lose heart when silence stretches on, when promises have not yet become reality, when prayers have not yet received an answer. But my child, faith is not measured by how far you have gone, but by how faithfully you hold on until the very last moment. Many souls have stopped short simply because they forgot that my clock is never slow, it only runs on a different rhythm than yours. Can you hear it? The spiritual clock is counting the very breaths of time, and every second is whispering, the hour is near. Yet the world remains loud. People remain engrossed, living as though they had endless tomorrows. They delay. They wait for another day to believe, not knowing that every hesitation shortens an opportunity. The time I have appointed is not a vague metaphor, it is a sacred appointment I wrote down before you were born. The dreams you have, the indistinct stirrings in your heart, the tears that fall for no clear reason, these are not coincidences, but reminders from me that time is no longer much. Yet sadly, many dismiss them as fleeting emotions, only to realize one day that they have walked past a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that will never return. My child, what grieves me most is not seeing you weak, but seeing you grow cold when I am near to completing a miracle for you. On the journey of faith, almost no one gives up at the beginning, but many collapse near the end, where the light has already begun to glimmer on the horizon. The enemy knows it cannot stop my hand, so it tries to pull you away from the place of waiting. It makes you tired, distracted, doubtful, filling your heart with noise until you no longer have enough stillness to hear my voice. And when you sink into that weariness, you loosen your hold on what I am about to give you. You think you are merely resting, but in truth, you are stepping out of the ranks of those who will witness the miracle. Many are living as though tomorrow will always be there, while in heaven, the hands of my clock have already begun to move, and they still imagine they have countless chances. They chase after work, plans, dreams, yet few pause to ask, where am I in God's plan? I have knocked at the door of their hearts many times through circumstances, through warnings, through dreams that seem meaningless, but they insist. It's not time yet. My time is not a figure of speech, but a real appointment fixed before you ever came into the world. And when the call goes out, if you do not respond in time, you will find yourself lost in the very life I once defined for you. Every invitation from me is not a temporary offer, it is a door that opens only once. To miss today is to turn away from an entire season of blessing long prepared for you. Remember this, I am never in a hurry, but I am never late. When my appointed time comes, I desire to find you ready, not entangled and distracted by the world. Do not wait for tomorrow to believe, for tomorrow may never come. My beloved child, have you ever paused long enough to listen to your own breathing? The rhythm that is counting down the very seconds I have given you. I see you busy and hurried, chasing after what you believe is important, unaware that behind all those things, my time is quietly slipping by. You are absorbed in building your life, caring for every little detail. Yet you forget there is something greater than all these, that is your life in me. When I declare, today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion. Hebrews 3:1-5. It is my reminder that not tomorrow, but today is the time for obedience. Yet many still delay, allowing the noise of everyday life to drown out my gentle call, until they finally realize that tomorrow no longer belongs to them. My child, I understand your heart always wanting to rest a little, postpone a little, waiting for a more convenient time before giving me your whole heart. But you do not realize that every "I'll do it tomorrow" is one more step you take away from me. The devil does not need to push you into great sins. It only needs to whisper to you, there's still time. It does not have to steal your faith. It only has to delay that faith until the door has closed. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy, John 10:10, and sometimes it needs no force at all, only distraction. And you will lose by yourself the very opportunities that were meant for you. My child, I do not reproach you for being weak. I only fear that you become so accustomed to your weakness that you no longer desire to stand up. I have given you many awakenings, those restless nights, those events that shake your heart, those dreams that seem meaningless. All of them are my gentle touch on your soul, letting you know that I am still waiting. But you treat them as coincidences and soothe yourself with the excuse, it's probably not the time yet. You do not know that that time is precisely today. For my timing is not measured by earthly clocks, but by the rhythm of heavenly purpose. For I know the plans I have for you, plans for peace and not for harm, to give you a future and a hope. Jeremiah 2:9-11. I have never stopped planning good things for you, but I need you to show up at the hour I have appointed. Every time you postpone, you are the one arriving late to what I have already prepared. My child, I know there are moments when your heart is weary because the road feels too long and your prayers seem unanswered. But trust me, you have never been forgotten. I am teaching you to walk by faith, not by feelings. Feelings may change, but faith is what keeps you standing when everything seems to collapse. Can you see that? Throughout the years, it was precisely in the moments that felt like my silence that I was rearranging your life. If I allow your spiritual clock to run slower than others, it is because I am teaching you the value of waiting. With the Lord, one day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is one day too. Peter 3:8. My time is not late, only different, and that difference exists so that you may learn to believe even when you do not yet see. My beloved, the world always makes you think you have endless chances, that this failure can be fixed, that mistake can be undone. But some opportunities come only once in a lifetime. And when I knock, I long for you to open at once, not say, let me prepare a little more. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in to him. Revelation 3:20. I do not knock forever, because I honor your will, and if you keep staring at what you are losing, you will miss what is coming. My child, I do not need you to be perfect, I only need you to be willing. When you are willing, I will take care of the rest. There are those to whom I once entrusted a calling, whose hearts once burned for me, but whose fire gradually died down because they thought, I'll live for him again when the time is right. Yet the fire of the Holy Spirit does not wait for another time. When I breathe life into your soul, I desire that you keep that flame burning. Even if it is just a small flicker in the dark, do not compare yourself to anyone else. For my timing for each person is different. I only want you not to let the fire die out because of complacency. Do not quench the Spirit. 1 Thessalonians 5:19. When you guard that small flame, you will see me turn it into a torch that lights up an entire harvest. My child, Some people think they are truly living, when in fact they are asleep in the busyness of life. They are not committing obvious sins, but they no longer hunger for me. They go to church, but their souls have been far from me for a long time. I look at them and my heart is saddened, for the light in them is fading like a lamp that is running out of oil. Remember my words, therefore keep watch, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. Matthew 2:4-4-2. Watchfulness is not fear, it is keeping your spirit alive, so that whenever I come, you will not be ashamed or afraid, but will smile, knowing you are ready. My beloved child, do not let busyness kill intimacy with me. I do not rebuke you for having concerns, for I know you live in the midst of this world. But I am grieved when you give your time to everything and everyone except me, when I awaken you with a nameless emptiness. That is, my invitation for you to return. Do not try to fill it with work or relationships, for only I can fill that void. But seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Matthew 6:3-3. If you put me in the right place, you will see everything else fall into its rightful place. My child, look back over your life. How many times have you promised you would change, that you would return, and then forgotten? I do not remind you to condemn you, but to show you that I am still waiting. It is never too late to come back, but do not wait until your heart is completely cold before seeking me. I do not need grand promises. I only desire that first step you dare to take toward me, like the father waiting for his prodigal son. I am also standing at the road's beginning, my arms still open wide. You only need to turn around, the rest I will do. And when you do return, you will realize that all the clocks I placed in your life, the crises, the delays, the wounds have all been my ways of teaching you to value the time of life. Every second I give is an opportunity to love, to forgive, and to live fully in my will. Do not waste it in procrastination or indifference, for one day that clock will stop, and what will remain is only the love you have given me. Therefore, my child, wake up. Do not wait for a clearer sign, for every sign you need has already been given in your heart, in your circumstances, in my word. Take a step, even a small one, for every step you take toward me is a step you leave the darkness behind, like the sower who knows the harvest is near. Stand up, for your season is also approaching, and as you begin to walk, you will see that the spiritual journey is not just about going far, but about keeping your heart awake in the storm of distraction. For sometimes, the real danger does not lie in the fact that you have not yet started, but in that you are walking in the right direction while letting your heart fall out of rhythm. My child, there is something I want you to engrave in your heart. The most dangerous part of the spiritual journey is not when you are weak, but when you think you are almost there, when you stand in the final stretch where just a little more perseverance would bring you into the promise. That is, when the enemy launches its fiercest attack. It does not strike you with obvious sin, but with weariness, discouragement, comparison, and the noise of the world. I have seen so many souls stop right at the door of the miracle because they no longer had the strength to wait one more hour. But my child, those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. Isaiah 40:3-1. I do not want you merely to begin in fire, but to finish in light. I understand you have endured many trials, and at times you feel that I take too long to answer. You pray, you believe, then you wait, and the longer the wait, the colder your heart seems to grow. That is when you begin to look at others and ask, why does God answer them quickly but not me? In that moment, the seed of comparison is sown, and slowly sprouts into bitterness. My child, faith is not a race to see who receives first, but a personal journey of each soul. I have a unique plan for every person, and no one is late who still walks in my will. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we will reap, if we do not give up. Galatians 6:9. I want you to learn endurance even when no one applauds you, because in that very hidden place I am testing whether your love is truly genuine. When you feel exhausted, do not struggle alone. Stop and sit at my feet. Let me pour new strength into you. Sometimes I do not want you to run fast. I only want you to be still in my presence. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 4:6-10. The world teaches you to be strong and persistent, but I teach you that true strength comes from knowing how to be weak in me. You do not need to pretend to be fine or hold back your tears, for I know everything. Every sigh you release, I hear every trembling in you. I see. I am not far from you in your weariness. I am right there, waiting for you to lift your head so I can help you stand again. But my child, understand this too. Distraction does not always come through pain. Sometimes it comes through pleasant things. A compliment, an opportunity, a small success can also pull you away from the place I have put you. The enemy is very subtle. It knows it cannot stop me from blessing you, so it only needs to lure you away from the place where blessings are poured out. It makes you believe you must do a little more, must prove yourself in what I have already affirmed long ago, and so you chase after what is good while forgetting what is right. No one can serve two masters. Matthew 6:2-4. You cannot chase the applause of people and at the same time keep your heart pure for me. You must choose either quietness in my will or noise in the world. I see you, my child, when your heart sags in the middle of the road. There are days when you want to let go, not because you do not believe, but because you have waited too long. I understand, but I want you to know every true miracle needs time to sprout, like a seed lying still in the soil. It must endure darkness, dampness, and wait before breaking through to the light. If you give up in the middle of the process, you will never see the golden grain you once prayed for. Those who sow in tears shall reap in shouts of joy. Psalm 1:2-6-5. My child, your tears are not wasted. They are watering the harvest that is coming. I want you to understand that exhaustion does not mean you have failed. It only means you need me more than ever. When your hands tremble, take hold of mine. When your knees are weak, kneel down, for sometimes victory is not found in standing up, but in knowing where to kneel. For when you are weak, then I make you strong. 2 Corinthians 1:2-9-10. Your strength does not come from your own willpower, but from your surrender to me. Surrender is not defeat. It is allowing me to win on your behalf. There are storms you are facing now that are not meant to destroy you, but to refine what is truly real in your heart. I allow you to pass through trials not because I delight in your pain, but because I want you to learn to love me even when you hold nothing in your hands. When you remain faithful, though, you see no miracle. That is when you yourself are becoming the miracle. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. John 2:0-9. I have not forgotten a single prayer of yours. I am only waiting for your heart to grow large enough to receive what I am about to give. My child, do not fear when you feel weary. Weariness is not as dangerous as allowing that weariness to kill your faith. Rest in me, but do not leave me. There is a difference between resting and quitting. Resting is to regain strength. Quitting is to refuse the journey I have marked out for you. Learn from Jesus, though exhausted on the cross. He still declared, "It is finished." John 1:9-30. Do you see, he did not end because he was weak, but because he had completed everything. I also want you to finish like that, not because you are worn out, but because you have faithfully walked to the end of the path I entrusted to you, my beloved child. When you keep your heart steadfast, I will add strength to you. Every step you take in exhaustion is a step I am lifting by my grace. Let your eyes look up to me, not around you. When you look to me, you will see the storm begin to fade and your soul come back into peace. You keep in perfect peace the one whose mind stays on you, because he trusts in you. Isaiah 2:6-3. Do not forget, no curve in the road is meaningless. Every drop of sweat on the path of faith is counted by me and kept in my bottle. And then, when you have walked through that stretch of road full of distractions, you will realize what I want to train in you is not the strength to run, but the strength to stand. For after every gust of wind, what remains is not who ran the fastest, but who still kept their heart. Let your heart be still in me, because ahead of you, you will need that very steadfastness to walk through deeper silences and greater trials. My child, do not be afraid when the light seems to grow dim, for only in the deepest night does my light shine the clearest. Keep walking, not because you still have strength, but because I am still walking with you. The place you think is the end is in fact the starting point of a new chapter in your journey of faith, where I will teach you that true faith is not only measured by endurance, but also by the ability to remain in peace in the midst of the storm. Do you know, sometimes what weighs your soul down is not the storm, but the silence. My silence can confuse you, like a child standing in the dark, unsure if their father is still there. You have prayed, cried out, waited, yet the answer has not come, and you assume I have turned my face away. You begin to doubt, have you forgotten me? But my child, I have never left. It is precisely in the long pauses that I am working more than ever. The God who watches over Israel never grows tired and never sleeps. Psalm 1:2-4. When I am silent, it does not mean I am absent. When you do not hear me, it does not mean I do not hear you. My silence is not indifference, but the time in which I am weaving wonders with threads you cannot yet see. I know that pain makes you feel as if I have abandoned you. When you cry and no one answers, when you are wronged and no one defends you, when you look around and see only the absurdity of life, you begin to close your heart. But my child, do not let pain make you bitter. Do not let your tears turn into salt that dries out your soul. Every tear you shed, I keep in my bottle. You have recorded my misery. Are not my tears kept in your bottle, and my sorrows written in your book? Psalm 5:6-8. Not a single sigh of yours is meaningless. All of them are turning into seeds, and at my appointed time, those seeds will sprout into a harvest of blessing. You often think suffering is punishment, but in truth, it is the classroom of love. In your pain, I teach you what peace cannot teach. I teach you to discern what is temporary from what is eternal, to value the small things you once took for granted. You see, when you suffer, you begin to pray more sincerely, to forgive more easily, and to love more deeply. I do not create pain to torment you, but to refine you. Just as gold must pass through fire to shine, your soul must pass through trials to be made pure. Suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces proven character, and character produces hope. Romans 5:3-4. So do not fear pain, only fear a heart that grows hard within that pain. I know there are moments when you sigh and say, Lord, I can't take it anymore. But my child, that is the very point at which you are closest to the place where I am about to work my greatest miracle. The enemy knows this well, so it keeps whispering in your ear, if God loves you, why does he let you hurt so much? It wants you to forget that true love is not the refusal of all wounding, but the presence within every wound, transforming it into grace. As Joseph was sold as a slave, yet raised to be a ruler, as Job lost everything, yet received back double, so you will see that what I allow you to lose is never lost in vain. You do not understand now what I am doing, but later you will understand. John 1:3-7. Sometimes you want me to speak immediately, act immediately, prove myself immediately. But if I answered you at every moment you wept, you would only know me as a giver of gifts, not as a father. I want you to learn to trust me even when you hear nothing. For true faith is not born in miracles, but in silence. When you still stand firm though you cannot see the way, that is when your faith shines brightest. It is I who go before you. I will be with you. I will not leave you or forsake you. Deuteronomy 3:1-8. I have promised, and my promise never fails. My beloved child, do not be afraid when the tears keep falling. They do not make you weaker. They soften your soul so that I can touch it. The world teaches you to be strong, but I teach you that the weakness that turns toward me is the truest strength. When you weep in my arms, I turn those tears into oil that anoints your soul, so that when you rise, you are no longer the person you were. Tears are never useless. They either water life or drown the soul. I want you to choose the first. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Matthew 5:4. I see those times when you try to appear strong, forcing a smile while your heart is shattered. Do you think I do not know? I know everything, and I have compassion on you. You do not have to hide your tears from me, for I do not despise your weakness. In that very weakness I reveal my power. When you let go, I can finally take hold. When you stop straining, I can lift you up. I do not demand that you wear a forced smile in the midst of pain. I only desire that you keep holding my hand, even if your hand is trembling. My child, stop seeing pain as a full stop and begin to see it as a comma in the story I am writing. When you believe that everything is over, I am opening a new chapter. Every season of pain carries a hidden seed, the seed of restoration, of blessing, of faith renewed. One day, when you look back, you will smile and say, so it was then that God was not silent at all. He was writing the deepest part of my story. And when you understand the true meaning of silence, you will no longer be afraid of it. You will begin to see pain as a companion and tears as seeds, for you know that each time you lose something, I am preparing a new fullness for you. The sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. Romans 8:1-8. When you keep your heart tender, even while you weep, you are sowing for yourself a coming season of joy. Then you will understand silence is not me withdrawing, but me stepping back so that you may grow. Pain is not a sign of distance, but a torch lighting the way for your soul to know what is real and what is false. When you learn to see this way, you will pass through days of testing more lightly, because you know that every time I am silent is precisely when I am drawing nearest. For, my beloved child, the journey of faith does not end at mere endurance. It leads to the understanding that every wound hides a sacred purpose, and it is through those very cracks that my light enters. Guard your heart in peace, for beyond pain lies glory. And after silence will come my gentle voice, the sound that only souls who have once wept in my hands can truly hear. My child, I have seen every tear you shed when you were misunderstood, every choking sob when you were excluded, every time you kept silent under the contempt of others. I know that this pain runs deeper than words, for it touches the very value you believed was yours. You begin to ask, if God loves me, why does He allow me to be so despised? But, my dear one, it is in the very place where you are rejected that I am laying the foundation for your vindication. Whoever humbles himself will be exalted. Luke 1:4-1:1. You are not brought low to be shamed, but so that I may lift you up in a way no one expects. Injustice is not the sign that I have withdrawn my hand, but the soil I plow deeply to plant seeds of glory that only I can see. I know that when you are treated unfairly, your first instinct is to defend yourself, to prove that you are innocent. But my child, every time you insist on justifying yourself, you place yourself on the same level as those who hurt you. You lower your own voice to argue with the noise of this world. Do not repay evil with evil. Leave room for the wrath of God. Romans 1:2-1:9. I do not ask you to be silent because you are weak, but because I want the voice of your vindication to come from my mouth, not from your wounded heart. When you keep silence, I speak for you. When you stop reacting, I act. And my word of defense will always thunder louder than any accusation. My beloved, do not think that I do not see. Every time you are ignored despite having done your best, I am there. Whenever others mock, judge, or belittle your heart, I take note. I do not forget. I simply have not spoken yet. For if I vindicated you while you were still angry, you would use that victory to gloat, not to glorify me. But when you are quiet enough, when you can bear both silence and injustice while keeping your heart pure, that is when I can release justice to you by the hand of heaven. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Psalm 3:7-7. Your waiting is not in vain, for my justice is never late. It comes at the exact time appointed in the Spirit. Do you know, those moments of humiliation, rejection, and being looked down upon by others are exactly where I am carving out your true image. You once thought your worth lay in the eyes of other people, but I let them turn their backs so you would learn to see yourself in my light. When every door you seek is closed, I want you to realize that there is one door that remains open, the door of my heart. If God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8:3-1. You do not need the world's approval. You only need me to know who you are. When you stand in the place I have appointed for you, no accusation is strong enough to pull you away from it. My child, do not let your wounds turn you into someone cold. Many, after being hurt, build stone walls around their hearts, thinking that is strength. But my child, those walls do not only keep people out, they also shut out my light. I want you gentle, not bitter. I want your heart to remain like good soil, that though it is trampled, it can still bring forth life. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Matthew 5:5. True strength does not lie in hardness, but in the ability to keep loving even after being hurt. Let me heal you instead of binding yourself in hatred. For if you keep looking through the lens of bitterness, you will never see the glory I am preparing. I do not allow anyone to hurt you merely to test you. Every contempt you receive carries a purpose. When you are pushed out, I am removing you from places that do not belong to you. When you are slandered, I am teaching you to stand firm without needing applause. When you are misunderstood, I am training you to understand others more deeply. Do not think this is failure, it is training. For, my child, those whom I intend to use for great things, I always lead through seasons of deep humiliation. Unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone, but if it dies, it bears much fruit. John 1:2-4. You must die to the need for human recognition in order to be born into the recognition of heaven. My dear one, I have seen you try to prove you are right, only to find that the more you speak, the more you are misunderstood. You grow tired and want to give up. But I want you to know that your silence is not weakness. It is strength reserved for the right time. Some things are meant to be proven only by fruit, As time passes, the very outcome of your life will be your vindication. The righteous will flourish like a palm tree and grow like a cedar of Lebanon. Psalm 9:2-1-2. Let me prove you by blessing, not by arguments. I do not want you to lock yourself into the label of the wounded one. If you let the past define you, you will never see the future I am opening. Do not let the contempt in others' eyes become the mirror for your life. You were not born to answer scorn, but to reflect my glory. When I look at you, I do not see someone pitiful. I see a warrior being forged in the fire. You are my treasured possession. I have chosen you, not because you are strong, but because I love you. Deuteronomy 7:6-8. And when the day of your vindication comes, you will understand why I asked you to be silent. When you were brought low, I had already written the day you would be lifted up. When you were rejected, I had already prepared a place where you would be honored. When others despised you, I was laying the foundation for a new position that only grace can open. And in that moment, you will no longer crave revenge or the need to prove yourself, because my peace in you will be so deep that you will need no other word. One day you will realize that the very wounds that once made you ashamed are the places where my light shines through most powerfully. It is in humiliation that I teach you what true honor is. It is in rejection that you learn the meaning of being chosen. What I am doing now you do not understand, but afterward you will understand. John 1:3-7. And then you will no longer wish to hide your past, for you will see clearly that I have used each wound to sculpt a new person in you. My child, do not shut your heart. Do not let pain define you. Let me use that very pain as the launching pad that leads you into a season of vindication. For what you call humiliation today is the red carpet I spread out for the day I will honor you. Just as Joseph was once thrown into a pit, yet that very pit led him to the palace. When you understand this, you will no longer fear contempt, for you will know that every scornful word only thickens the foundation for the throne of honor I am preparing for you. And when you have risen from every injustice, you will walk more lightly, with a wider heart and clearer eyes, for you will know that true vindication does not come from others changing their minds, but from your own heart being changed. When you see everything through my eyes, nothing will wound you as it once did. In that moment, you will have entered another season, a place where pain is no longer a burden, but a mark of grace, where you understand that to be despised for my name is not a loss, but a profound honor. And then, out of that deep gratitude, you will find yourself moving forward gently, because you know that the journey does not end with vindication, but goes further still to the place where you learn the most important lesson: not to fear people's contempt, but to fear missing the moment when I open the door to defend you and lead you into the glory I prepared for you long ago. My beloved child, there is an invisible yet powerful chain that binds many feet: the fear of people's gaze. You do not fear grieving my heart as much as you fear what others may say or think about you. There are moments when I urge you to step forward, to speak a word, to stand on the side of truth. Yet inside you a voice rises: what if they laugh at me? What if someone doesn't like me? My child, when you allow the voice of people to sound louder than my word, you are handing over the steering wheel of your life to those who are just as frail as you are. For they loved human praise more than the praise that comes from God. John 1:2-4-3. I do not want you to walk that path. What is truly frightening is not that people dislike you, but that you let that fear pull you away from the very place where I long to defend you and lift you up. I know there are scratches on your heart the times you were mocked, looked down on, called names you can never forget. Those memories have made you shrink back. Live just enough so no one notices you, as long as you feel safe. But my child, you were not created to live under the shadow of people's judgments. When you let one comment, one cold attitude, one criticism decide who you are, you have forgotten my voice calling you, beloved. Yes, I am the one who comforts you. Why then are you afraid of mere mortals who must die, and you forget the Lord who made you? Isaiah 5:1-13. Your fear of people grows only because the image of me in your heart has grown small. I do not condemn you for that, but I long to heal it. Look back for a moment. How many times have you clearly known what was right, yet did not dare to do it simply because you were afraid of how others would look at you? I stirred you to forgive, but you were afraid people would say you were weak. I called you to step out and serve, but you were afraid they would say you were showing off. I put a testimony in your heart, but you were afraid to share it in case they laughed at you. My child, if I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. Galatians 1:10. I do not want you to be a slave to public opinion when you have been called to be a child of the King. Small acts, such as daring to confess my name in a crowd, daring to share what I have spoken, daring to stand on the side of truth, these are the spiritual signatures that show you have chosen me over your own sense of safety. My child, I am wanting to lift you up, to bring you out of the dark corners of shame and into the place of honor I have prepared. I want to defend you, to open doors for you that no one can close, to show both you and others that I am with you. See, I have set before you an open door that no one can shut. Revelation 3:8. But if, when I open the door, you still stand outside because you fear people's comments, you will watch blessings pass right in front of your eyes. I will not force you to step through. I invite you. And the deepest regret will not be I never had a chance. But God opened the door, yet I did not dare to walk through. My child, the fear of people's opinions will shrink as your holy fear of me grows. When you realize that, my eyes rest on you more gently than any other gaze. You will be less shaken by frowns and whispers. I am not asking you to despise others, but I do want you to put every gaze in its proper place. My gaze is the one that ultimately matters. I am the one who judges, not people. I remind you of this so that you know your final worth is not defined by the crowd. When you dare to live according to what I say, even when others do not yet understand, you step into a new realm of freedom, a place where your heart is no longer controlled by the smile or the scowl of anyone. And then, if you dare to choose me over human opinion, you will see something strange happen. The very people who once despised you will have to look again. The very places that closed to you will be forced to open. And the very stories that once made you bow your head will become testimonies of my grace. I will use your life as an answer to many questions, to prove that whoever fears me and obeys my voice will never ultimately lose out. In that day, what makes you tremble will no longer be people's words, but a holy reverence, afraid of missing what I want to do, afraid of dragging your feet when I have already spoken. And from there, you will walk into new stages, not with feet tied up by public opinion, but with the light heart of a child who knows they are walking in the Father's will. In the very hour of my vindication and through doors I myself have opened. My beloved child, now I want you to tuck my words deep inside your heart. Hold them the way someone cradles a small lamp on a stormy night, and keep walking. Because what is coming will not only change your outward circumstances, but will also change the way you see yourself, the way you see me, and the way you see the journey you are on. This is not just a beautiful sentence meant to comfort you. It is a real signal in the spiritual realm. You are much closer than you think. There are things I have not shown you clearly yet, because if you saw everything, you would no longer need faith. But today, I lift the curtain just a little. You are not standing at the beginning. You are standing near the end of a stage, at a point where each small decision, Each choice that seems ordinary can determine whether you step into or step away from what I have planned. That is why you must not despise this moment, must not take lightly what I am whispering in your heart right now. I have seen so many generations pass before my eyes, so many faces, so many stories, so many hearts that once burned bright and then slowly faded. I have seen those who were just a short distance away from breakthrough, yet, out of weariness, turned their backs on the path I had marked out. I have seen those who gave their youth to obey me, who endured shame, wounds, and loneliness. Yet when they were close to being restored, they gave up. They stood before a field golden and ready for harvest, but turned away, thinking that this harvest was not for them. Some stood right at the bridge I built, but walked back, thinking the other shore was too far. My child, the greatest pain is not never tasting blessing, but coming very close and never touching it, stretching out your hand and then pulling it back. I do not want your life to become an almost story like that. I do not want heaven to mention your name with the sentence, "That one came very close." But their heart would not take the last few steps. My child, you must know that the last stretch of the road is always where the wind is strongest. Like a long-distance runner, the section near the finish line is where lungs burn, legs tremble, the heartbeat races, and everything in you just wants to stop. It is the same in the spiritual realm when my promise is about to be revealed. The pressure around you often increases, not decreases. The opposing voices grow louder. Unexpected troubles come in waves. Nameless anxieties flood your mind. This is not a sign that I am withdrawing, but a sign that the enemy knows it is about to lose. So it thrashes harder one last time. It cannot close the door I open, but it can drag you away from the threshold through distraction, doubt, irritation, comparison, and self-pity. It will use everything that has ever wounded you to drag old memories back up, to make you forget what I have spoken and remember only what the world has done to hurt you. I do not say this to frighten you, but to awaken you, if these days your mind is noisier, your heart more unsettled. It is not because you are on the wrong path, but because you are coming very near to a spiritual tipping point. I have watched many people who, after years of trusting, suddenly let doubt take the central place in their hearts. At first they only allowed a few passing thoughts. Maybe God never intended this for me. Maybe I misheard God. Maybe I've been waiting in the wrong place. Little by little, those questions stopped being fleeting thoughts and became the foundation for every decision. They began to act based on fear rather than on my word. They chose quick fixes, short paths, doors that looked obviously open in front of them, but were not doors I had opened. They accepted less because they no longer believed I still had more for them. My child, my heart aches when I see them walk onto these shortcuts, because shortcuts always lead to dead ends, whereas the path I choose can seem winding and slow, but it certainly reaches the destination. I have also seen hearts so exhausted from waiting that they give themselves permission to turn aside. They say, "I will take care of myself," because it seems God is not taking care of me. They step into relationships that do not come from me, accept jobs I did not lead them to, sign small compromises which their conscience knows are wrong, but they soothe themselves. As long as I suffer less than I do now, they do not realize that each choice is pushing them away from the orbit of my promise. I do not abandon them, but they themselves have left the place where I had prepared to give them something better. I look at them and wish they had waited just a little longer, wished they had dared to believe that I truly love them, as I said, wished they had let me hold their hand a little longer before letting go and running after what their eyes could see. My dear child, I tell you this, not so you can feel superior, but so you understand that no one is immune to the temptation to quit near the end. Not even you. Yet, unlike them, you are being warned by me ahead of time. I am drawing you back with my word at the very moment when many others can no longer hear it. What does that mean? It means I have not abandoned you. It means I still value your journey. It means I am looking at you with hope, not with disappointment. If I were indifferent, I would simply let you drift with your own weary thoughts. But today, I have chosen to call you by name, to remind you that you are not an outsider to my plan. You belong in my story, and that story is not over. Even if you feel too tired to keep reading, when I say, do not lose heart, for your reward will be very great. I am not speaking empty words. I truly see a reward waiting for you. Even if your eyes do not see it yet, my child. Therefore receive this word, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Do not merely nod and then forget. Let it take root. Remind yourself every day, I am closer to the promise than I think. I will not walk away from the place God has put me. Let your mouth speak differently than your feelings. When your heart wants to give up, all the more you must say, Lord, I am weak, but you are strong. I am tired, but I choose not to quit. When your thoughts want to slip off my path, bring those very thoughts before me and say plainly, I am doubting. Please heal me of this doubt. I do not despise hearts that dare to bring even their weakness to me. The only time you shut me out is when you pretend to be strong while quietly drifting far from me. Remember all the stages of the road you have already walked with me, the times I rescued you from situations that seemed hopeless. The times you thought you would collapse for good, yet somehow were still standing. The moments you realized an unseen hand pulled you out of the worst. These are not just sweet memories to tell as nice stories. They are markers I have set in your life so that today, when you are weary, you can look back and see that I have never failed to keep my word. If I did not abandon you in your darkest days, why would I abandon you now when the path ahead is about to shine? If I stayed at your side when you had nothing to offer, nothing to boast about, why would I step away when you are about to enter a harvest season? Use memories of earlier grace to answer today's fears. Use what I have already done to remind your own heart that I will act again, in my way and in my time. Look at your fear and distraction with different eyes. They are not signs that you have failed, but mirrors showing how much you need me right now. When you feel like running away and withdrawing, that is exactly when you need to run closer, to sit longer at my feet. Do not think you must feel strong before you come to me. Come to me exactly as you are now. Trembling as you are, I can embrace shaking hearts. I can gather up hopes that are fraying. I can lift again those who almost no longer want to stand. I am not asking you for perfect faith. I only ask that in all your imperfection, you still keep holding my hand, even if it is only with a tiny thread of hope. My child, I say this with all the love of a father. Do not write your own name into the list of those who stopped when there were only a few steps left. Do not let the angels have to whisper to each other. They ran well, but stopped just before dawn. Do not let the story of your life end with, they once believed, once served, once persevered, but did not go to the end. I want your story to be written like this, and that person, though weary, still clung to God's word, stood firm to the end, and saw what God had promised become reality. That is why I am speaking to you right now, so that nothing in you can still excuse itself by saying, I did not know. No one reminded me. Finally, understand this. What I am preparing for you is not just a temporary miracle, but a change of life from the inside out. I do not only want to change your position, circumstances, finances, or relationships. I want to change the way you believe, the way you love, the way you look at me. What is coming is not a gift for you to show off to others, but a divine arrangement so that you may live true to the name child of God in this world. And to step into it, you need something very simple, yet very hard, not to turn your back in the critical moment. Let me hold you. Stop pulling your hand away. You have come this far. Do not let weariness and distraction steal the fruit of so many years of tears, prayers, and faithfulness. I am here, right beside you, not to tell you a pretty story, but to take your hand and say, walk on with me. Do not stop now, my child. I have watched so many people stretch out their hands almost to the point of touching what I promised, only to slowly let go, not because the promise changed, but because they believed the poisonous whisper that I had left them, that I no longer remembered their tears and the times they knelt. Some have gone very far, have been faithful and steadfast for many years, have sown with sweat and tears. Yet just before the harvest appeared on the horizon, they turned their backs on the very field they had plowed, walked away empty-handed, then concluded that I was unfair. I look at them with deep sorrow, because with just a little more endurance, just one more time standing firm, they could have held in their hands the sheaves they themselves had watered with sleepless nights. That is why today I speak to you gently but firmly, not to scold, but to awaken you, so your heart does not fall into the same pit of despair where so many others have slipped, so you do not become one of those who stop right at the threshold I am opening. The fact that you are hearing these words right now is not an accident, not something you happen to scroll past, not just another random piece of content in an ocean of information. This is a spiritual appointment I have set up with you, so that at the very moment you think you are about to collapse, you hear my voice calling you by name. I, your God, know very well the slow burning weariness inside you, the kind of tiredness, not only in your body, but in your hope, which has been disappointed so many times that you now shy away from expecting anything. I know how many times you have silently told yourself, maybe this is far enough, maybe God did not intend this for me, and your smile has faded. Your prayers have grown shorter, and your heart has closed itself off from greater things. But my child, that point which you call a dead end is often the turning in the road that leads into a new land. And it is precisely there that the battle becomes fiercer than ever. The enemy of your soul is not afraid of your shallow steps at the beginning. It fears your trembling steps that still cling to me near the end. It is not afraid of your hasty promises at the start. It fears your quiet perseverance on days when nobody sees you. It knows better than anyone that when you keep holding my hand to the very last moment, no power can stop me from completing what I have spoken. That is why it does not waste its strength trying to fight my hand, because it cannot, but throws all its attacks at your heart so that you will be the one to let go. It uses everything: the mocking laughter of people, rumors whispered behind your back, contemptuous looks, comparisons that make you feel small, words that seem casual but pierce right into your old wounds, all to push you into believing that you are unworthy, that you are not loved, that you are someone who has missed their time. It whispers, see, God is not defending you. He is not with you like he said. If he were really with you, why must you wait this long? Why must you be so ashamed in front of so many people? Then it drags out your past, your falls, your old mistakes, to pressure you into agreeing with its conclusion: God has forgotten you. My child, I want you to know this: whenever those voices grow louder than mine, that is when you are stepping into the fiercest battlefield of your spiritual life. It is no coincidence that just as you are about to break through old limits, waves of criticism, doubt, and confusion crash in. It is no accident that just as I am opening a door, The fear of people's opinions in you suddenly grows larger than ever before. The enemy cannot lock the door I have opened. It can only make you stand on the threshold and step back because you are afraid of public opinion, afraid of losing your image, afraid of being misunderstood. It cannot extinguish the lamp I have lit for you, but it will do everything it can to make you pull a cloth over your own light so that it will not be seen. It understands very well what I have spoken. Whoever endures to the end will be saved. So its entire strategy is focused on those 3 words, to the end. How to get you to give up just a little before that, and then a little more, until you walk completely off the battlefield while still telling yourself that you are only taking a short break. That is why today I am not speaking to you in a tone of rebuke, but as a father sitting down beside a child who is sighing, gently placing my hand on your shoulder and whispering, "My child, do not believe that noise out there. Look into my eyes. I am still here. I have not forgotten. I want you to see that the feeling of being abandoned is not proof of my absence. It is only a mist the enemy blows into your face to block your view. The spiritual reality is the opposite precisely. When you think I am farthest away is when I am watching you the most closely. Like a farmer standing silently at the edge of his field, following every tiny movement of the seed he has sown, waiting for it to split open. You do not see me rushing in, because there are battles I want you to experience with me. Not just stand outside and wait for the result. There are moments when I allow you to reach the very limit of yourself, so that you will understand your survival does not rest on your own strength in any way at all. Do you remember when Peter walked on the water? He took several steps in the miracle. But when the wind rose, he began to look at the waves, at the force of the wind, at his own weakness, and he started to sink. I was there from the very moment he lifted his foot out of the boat until the instant he was about to go under. I was only waiting for him to cry out, "Lord, save me." And at once I stretched out my hand and took hold of him. You are standing in exactly that place now, the place where the wind blows stronger, the waves rise higher, and your heart trembles more, not because I have left you, but because you have stepped out of your comfort zone. If you turn back to the boat now because of fear, you will spend the rest of your life saying, "The Lord never let me walk on water," when in truth it was you who pulled your foot back halfway. I do not want that story to be repeated in you. I do not want you to become a witness of retreat. I want you to be living proof that an ordinary, weak person who dares to cling to my word in the midst of mocking laughter and skeptical glances can be lifted up by me and led through doors they never even dared to dream of before. That is why, when you hear these words, I ask you not to listen only with your ears, but to let them reach the deepest place in your heart, that place where you have quietly agreed with the lies that say, "I only bother God. I don't deserve blessing. There is nothing special about me." I want to cut those sentences off at the root, for they do not come from me. I call you beloved child. I say you are my treasure, the one I have chosen. I affirm that I am with you. Do not be afraid or discouraged. I have engraved your name on the palms of my hands. How could I forget you? Look back over the journey you have just walked if I have upheld you through so many previous waves. Could it be that now, when the shore is near, I would leave you to drift away? The only thing that can truly cause you to lose your way is not my hand letting go, but your choosing to believe the noise over my word, to fear displeasing people more than missing the hour when I stand up to defend you. Therefore today, I invite you, not with a shout, but with a whisper, to rise up once more, to loosen the cords of human opinions that are wrapped around your heart, to turn your face away from the crowd and lift your eyes to me. There, in my gaze, you will understand that you are loved far more than you ever thought, that you are expected far more than you imagined, and that a new season is truly drawing nearer than you can picture. Do not let go right now. My child, because the place you think is the end of the story is actually the first page of the new chapter I am about to write for your life. A chapter in which, when you look back one day, you will realize, if on that day you had bowed your head in fear of people, you would have lost the moment when I stepped forward to stand up for you in front of them. My child, what I want you to see right now is no longer what people are saying, but what is happening at the deeper level of your soul and in the spiritual realm your eyes cannot yet see. Your enemy is very cunning. It does not always use big sins or obvious temptations to strike you down, but it drips into your mind little streams of scattered thoughts, vague anxieties, and endless what-if questions. It lays out before you countless tasks that seem urgent but are actually trivial, so that your heart is always tangled like a ball of string, leaving no room for peace and for my gentle whisper. It lets you sink into conversations that bring nothing but irritation, pointless arguments just to prove you are right, insults that keep you busy explaining yourself, scratches to your pride that cost you hours thinking about how people see me. While the things that truly belong to eternity, the things I have sown in you with tears, with those nights you knelt, with those times you chose to obey even when it cost you, are slowly pushed to the margins, you to understand that every time you let your heart drift with those waves of distraction, you are unintentionally trading an entire season of blessing for a few minutes of satisfaction, a few compliments, or a brief feeling of false safety, and that is an exchange you will regret when you look back. My beloved, in the history of your journey with me, there have always been decisive moments, hours I have marked as special, periods of time I have set apart to reveal what I have long prepared for your life. They are not loud, not accompanied by trumpets, not when the stage lights are brightest, but often come in silence. After a long season of your faithfulness without seeing results, this very moment is one of those times I have ordered your steps, shaped in you a teachable heart, let you pass through injustice, silence, and tears, so that the roots of your faith would grow deep. I am opening before you a door that belongs uniquely to you, tied to your very story, your very wounds, your very prayers, a door no one else can walk through in your place, and for which there is no duplicate. I call this period set-apart time. It is not a random stretch of your life, but the meeting point between my promise and your response. If right in this hour, because of fear of public opinion, because you are tired, weary, or busy chasing the noise, you lock your heart tight and retreat into a safe shell, then it is as if you gather up all the years you have lifted your face to me in tears, all the times you believed in the dark, all the things you sacrificed that were most precious to you for my sake, and throw them into a corner as if they had never been. I say this to you, not as a stranger giving advice, but as the one who has walked with you step by step, the one who knows every night you wanted to give up yet still clung to me. Therefore, I have the right and the authority to warn you, do not squander the golden hour of your soul on passing voices. This is not the time for you to keep turning left and right to read people's faces, to see who supports you today, who is silent, who criticizes, who praises. Nor is it the time for you to sit and analyze yourself to exhaustion, why this happened, why that has not changed, why this person treats you that way. The more you try to track down every reason, the more you will be pulled into a circle of speculation and sorrow with no way out. What you need most now is to reset the center of your soul, to keep the inner eyes of your heart fixed on what I have laid bare in front of you, on the words I have spoken in Scripture, on the confirmations I have repeated through circumstances, through dreams, through different people I have used to encourage you. If you press your ear against the noise of this world, the news, public opinion, harsh or loveless criticism, sarcasm, unfair comparisons, Then, my whisper in the depths of your heart will be drowned out. Not because I stop speaking, but because you have chosen another channel to listen to. If you allow discouragement, pessimism, and self-pity to cover you like a heavy garment, you will very easily arrive at a dangerous decision to let go of the promise right when it is about to take form, like a farmer who has sown all season, watered with sweat and tears, but because he is tired and assumes nothing more will happen, he abandons his field right before the harvest and lets someone else walk in and reap for free. On the contrary, if you patiently remain with me, not in a tense, strained posture, but in a deep inner rest, where you choose to believe that I am still at work even when your emotions rise and fall unpredictably, then you will see that every day of waiting, every time you hold your tongue instead of speaking bitter words, every time you choose obedience over following your feelings, all of it is weaving together the very answer you long for. When your eyes finally see what I have done, you will exclaim, "So not a single hour was wasted." My child, the harvest season in your spiritual life is no longer far away. What I have sown in you through years of fire testing has ripened. The fragrance of a season of answered prayers is already in the air. That is precisely why the enemy is more frantic than ever. It intensifies its attack on your thoughts, pumps in confusion, magnifies criticism, and makes small matters seem huge. All for one purpose, to drag you out of the field I have long allowed you to cultivate with me. It whispers that all the impressions you have had that I am about to move are nothing but emotions, your own imagination, comforting yourself that nothing is really changing, and that it is better not to hope than to risk disappointment. If you listen, you will close the lid over what I am gestating in the invisible realm, but I affirm to you those deep stirrings in your heart, those moments when an inexplicable faith rises up in you when there is no reason left to hope, those dreams, those verses of scripture that suddenly light up exactly when you need them. They are not stage props built by fleeting emotions. They are signals I am sending ahead of time, prophetic markers showing that the door I have prepared for you is slowly opening. This is not just a pleasant feeling after an inspiring sermon, but the spiritual reality actually shifting, my plan reaching a turning point, my arrangements behind the scenes coming close to the part you can see with your eyes. The clock of my appointed time does not stand still, whether you notice it or not. The flow of my time keeps moving forward. Every moment, whether you are believing or doubting, is carrying you closer to the point where I will act on your behalf, not because you are worthy, but because I am faithful to my own word. And for that very reason, I plead with you as a father begging his child not to fall asleep. Do not let your mind remain occupied by low noises. Do not let your heart be manipulated by the fear of people. But stay awake. Reset your priorities, and let the full attention of your inner being turn back to me. Because the moment when I defend you and lift you through the door I have opened will not wait until you are done being busy with every meaningless whisper of this world. My beloved child, after everything I have said to you about the gaze of people and the voices that can pull your heart away from me, now I want you to pause and truly listen. This very moment is not an accident, but a time I have intentionally arranged. This is not just a small piece of the story, it is a spiritual crossroads where you must choose, either to go on living as before, half believing and half afraid, half listening to me and half fearing people, or to decide to lean wholly toward me despite what your eyes see. I am placing before you a moment more precious than gold, not because your outward circumstances are beautiful, but because in this very instant I am gently knocking on the door of your heart once again. Do not assume you will have countless such knocks in your life. There are hours I set apart for a true turning point, and if you are earnest, you will recognize that this is one of those hours. Do not let your thoughts drift away in the idea of, I'll deal with it later. For that is one of the enemy's most dangerous whispers. It does not urge you to reject me. It simply pours into your heart the suggestion that there's no rush. Tomorrow is fine. When things are more stable, then I will get serious with God. It is precisely such harmless-sounding ideas that have led many souls away from the good plans I drew for them. Think about it. How many times have you intended to change, to live wholeheartedly, to return to me with all your heart? And yet, just because you postponed a little, everything gradually cooled, until you even forgot there had once been a promise between you and me. I do not say this to condemn you, but so that you might see clearly the subtle scheme that is trying to lull you to sleep. Tomorrow does not always arrive the way you imagine. There are people who also once said in their hearts that they would believe, obey, and come back on some beautiful day, but they never knew that day would never appear in their spiritual life. Today I speak to you, not so that you will be moved for a moment and then forget, but so that you will realize this is a personal invitation addressed to you, not to the anonymous crowd, not to more spiritual people, but to you yourself, the one who is reading, thinking, and weighing so many things. I want you to understand that this present moment is grace, a gift I am placing in your hand. You can clasp it tightly with a decision, or you can let it slip away amid your distractions. I do not force you, but I tell you plainly, if you keep stepping back, if you keep choosing silence in the face of my call, you will lose a very special season I am beginning in your life. Do not take the winding paths I have not shown you. There was a time when I placed in your heart a promise, a calling, a direction. You know very well which way you are meant to walk. You simply have not dared. If now you choose to avoid it, to keep yourself busy with 1,000 things, so you will not have to face my word, you will end up both weary and without peace. I do not want your life to drift along in half-hearted decisions. I am calling you to stop. Lift your eyes to me, and remember what I said to you in the beginning. My promise is not a bargaining chip for you to trade with. Me, if everything goes smoothly, I will obey. If not, I'll wait for another time. My promise is the foundation on which you dare to step forward. Even though there is still much ahead, you do not yet understand. When I tell you to cling to my word, it is because I know there will be winds. There will be waves. There will be whispers that shake you. You cannot expect a path that is perfectly smooth, but you can expect a Lord who never changes. If you keep your heart turned toward me, if you keep your spiritual eyes fixed on the one who has promised, then no storm will be strong enough to sweep you away. You will still see the waves, still hear the scorn of others, still endure delays that pierce your heart. But in the midst of all that, you will recognize that my hand has never left yours. I have said that I am faithful, which means I am true to my own word. I do not go back on it. I do not turn my back on what I have begun. What I ask of you is not perfection, but steadfastness, that even when you are tired, you still resolve not to let go of my hand. Do not be overly troubled when others do not believe what I am doing in your life. They may laugh. They may not understand. They may make light of the spiritual turning point you are going through. But my child, they are not the ones who will walk with you to the end of the road. I am the one who will go with you to the deepest place of your soul. When I call you to stand firm and not be shaken, that is not a vague phrase meant only to comfort you. It is a way of life. As you stay in the place I have assigned you, even when the wind changes direction, you will gradually see what I have begun in you take shape, rise up, and bear fruit. There are things that are still hidden now, unseen by anyone. But right in that hidden place, I am building a new future for you. I also know the anxiety in you when you see everything slowing down. You ask yourself, if this is my appointed time, Why doesn't everything open up at once? If this really is a door the Lord has opened, why do I still feel so unsure? You forget that in every promise there is always a period of preparation. A seed cannot blossom the moment it is sown. A child cannot run the moment it is born. Everything I build according to my timing needs a silent interval to sink deep roots so that when it rises, it will not be easily uprooted. What you call delay, from my perspective, is often mercy. Because I fear that if I were to lift you up too quickly, you would not be able to bear the weight of the very blessing itself. I want you to grow up through the process, not flare up for a brief moment only to burn out. Therefore, instead of sitting and counting the days until the miracle comes, I invite you to change the question. While I am waiting, who is the Lord wanting me to become? When you ask in this way, you will see that each day suddenly takes on meaning. The small things you do, the hours you remain faithful, the times you choose silence instead of retaliation, the moments you choose to be present with me instead of running away into entertainment, all of these are shaping you into someone who can carry what I am about to entrust to you. That is how you keep your heart from being scattered, from being pulled away from the center, which is me. Now I am not only telling you to listen and keep these things for yourself, I am calling you to become a carrier of the message. When I touch you through these words, it is not only so that you may be comforted, but also so that you may become a channel for others. When you bravely share what I am speaking, even if it is only a sentence, a paragraph, a single thought, you are signing a spiritual covenant through your actions. You are saying to me, I do not only believe in secret, I dare to stand on what you have said. That is faith made visible, belief embodied in real life. It is no longer a passing feeling, but a decision that can be measured by your steps, your words, and your willingness to openly declare to whom you belong. You may think that sharing a message, a word of encouragement, a video, a few lines of text is nothing important, but in the spiritual realm, those little acts are like planting a flag on your own territory and declaring, this ground of my life belongs to the Lord. You are not only bearing witness to others, you are bearing witness to your own heart. Every time you dare to express your faith, the fear of people's opinions loses a little of its grip. And every time you stay silent merely because you are afraid of what they might think, that invisible cord tightens one more loop around your heart. I invite you into freedom through small actions that carry great meaning. When you share what comes from me with reverence, not to show off or to argue, you are showing heaven that you value my voice above every like, every comment, every approval from the crowd. Instead of letting your mouth simply echo the noise of the world, you turn it into a conduit for the living word from me. That is a form of worship. It is also a quiet yet powerful declaration that you do not want to miss the moment whose bell I have already rung. You are inscribing in the air, I am no longer asleep. I want to stay awake and keep watch with you. I know that to live this way, you will have to wrestle within yourself. There will be moments when you feel awkward, embarrassed, misunderstood. I see all of those hesitations and I do not condemn you. On the contrary, I take your hand and say, just take one small step at a time. I am walking with you. I do not demand that you instantly become someone who fears no one. I only want you today to be a little less afraid than yesterday, a little less dependent on the gaze of others, and to cling to me more tightly. Every small step is precious to me, because I know what you have to overcome inside in order to dare to step forward like that. My beloved child, remember that when I say, now is the time, I do not say it to make you panic, but to pull you out of carelessness. I am not telling you to rush into meaningless activity, but inviting you to be awake in mind and heart. To be awake means not living by mere habit, not doing everything just because everyone else does, but daring to pause and ask me, Lord, what should I do with my life today? What do I need to obey today? When you live like that, each ordinary day becomes part of a prophetic moment. You are no longer being swept along, but walking with the awareness that there is one who is guiding every step. So I whisper to you once more, do not let this moment pass like all the others. Let it become a landmark, the place where you decide that from now on you will fear me more than public opinion. Cling to my word more than to your feelings, and dare to say yes as soon as you hear my voice, instead of waiting for a perfect day that will never come. From that decision, I will lead you into doors that you cannot yet imagine, and when you look back, you will know that it was today, in this seemingly ordinary hour, that you responded to my gentle yet majestic call, the call that drew you out of distraction and into a season of awakening, of keeping watch with the Father of your soul. Therefore, after all that you have gone through, the slanderous words, the doors that closed, the times you trembled under the gaze of others, what I am calling you to now is not to try to become perfect, but to guard within you the things that deserve to be protected. First of all, guard your inner life. The heart is where every decision is born, the place where the words I sow can either take root or be choked out. If you allow bitterness, humiliation, shame, and the obsession with how people see you to fill that space, then no matter how many times I speak, my words will only skim across the surface and never sink deep. I want your heart to become soft, but not lax, sensitive to the Holy Spirit, yet not fragile before every judgment. Your heart is like a field if you do not keep watch over it. The weeds of comparison, inferiority, and doubt will quickly cover it, hiding the living shoots I have planted. I do not want your heart to be a battlefield for every opinion, every feeling, every verdict. I want it to be a place where I can rest, where you can hear my heartbeat and learn to breathe in rhythm with it. Next, pay attention to what enters your ears. What you hear each day quietly shapes the way you see yourself and the way you see me. If you keep listening to words of criticism, sarcasm, and opinions that make you feel small and inadequate, sooner or later you will begin to believe that is truly who you are. I have said, faith comes by hearing, but fear, shame, and bondage also come by that same road. I want you to learn to discern which voice comes from me, and which is merely the sound of hurt, of public opinion, of people who themselves are still in chains. Whenever you hear a word that touches you, ask yourself, does this draw me nearer to the Lord or push me away? Does it soften my heart or harden it? Does it remind me of grace or sow more fear? If it only makes you feel small in a destructive way, makes you want to hide from me instead of running toward me, then you know that is not the voice of your Father. I am teaching you to close your ears to opinions that extinguish the flame, and to open them to words that build and correct in love, even if they sometimes hurt a little. Then I invite you to guard your focus. You are living in an age where everything is competing for your eyes and your thoughts, flashing notifications, new stories, comments, endless comparisons. All of it is like a fine drizzle falling constantly on your mind, making it hard for you to remain in one place for long, hard to be still enough to hear a full word from me. But my child, if you are not careful, that very distraction will steal the moment of my movement in your life. The enemy does not need to drag you into obvious sin. It only needs to keep you busy with meaningless things long enough so that when my appointed hour comes, your gaze is fixed somewhere else. I want you to understand that the minutes you spend focused before me with no screen, no noise, not performing for anyone, are the minutes when all of heaven falls silent to listen to you. In those spaces, I realign your vision, remind you of my promises, and reorder the chaotic pieces in your heart so that you can see the picture I am painting. If you keep letting yourself be swept away, you will live your whole life in a state of almost understanding without ever fully grasping what I am speaking. You need to know that the harvest I have promised you is not an empty metaphor. It is real. It is drawing near, and it has been prepared not only by what I have spoken, but also by all the times you have been faithful when no one was watching, every time you forgave when you had every right to be angry, every time you chose to do what is right when doing wrong would have been much easier, every time you kept silent and let me defend you instead of defending yourself. Each one was a seed. Often you think your efforts fall into nothingness, but in heaven nothing falls and is lost. I have gathered up every small action, every step taken without applause, every night you wanted to give up but still whispered, "Lord, I trust you." That is why I can tell you that the harvest is no longer just a possibility. It is a reality that is gradually unfolding. When the harvest comes, you will see that it is not the result of a momentary spiritual impulse, but the fruit of all the years you have walked persistently with me. That is why I earnestly urge you, do not let go just because you are tired. Do not step back just because you fear people's words. Do not lose your focus for the sake of a few glittering distractions before your eyes. Your victory is much closer than you think. You believe you are still in the middle of the road, but in reality, you are already at the turning point. You think you are only just beginning, but I already see, stretched ahead of you, a field in full bloom. You did not arrive here by accident. If you look back, you will see a chain of steps you thought were small, but which I used to lead you to this very point. Relationships knit together and then separated. Doors that opened and seemed as though they would stay open long but then closed. Stretches of road you thought were detours, but that brought you nearer to me. None of these were random mistakes. They are strokes in a picture whose whole I alone can see. You may think, I only happened to scroll past, happened to pause, happened to hear these words. But I want you to know that in my world, by chance does not exist for those who belong to me. You think this is just an ordinary moment, a small decision to open a video, read a passage, listen to a sentence, but in heaven, this moment was scheduled long ago. I already knew the day you would be weary, the hour you would waver, the minute you would be ready to give up. And at that precise point of wavering, I arranged for my word to touch the very place of pain in your heart. I do not always use great events to call you. Many times I use only a quiet moment in the midst of all the noise, where you are tired enough to stop pretending to be strong, and wounded enough to be willing to hear the truth. This moment is such a moment. I want you to understand that what you are hearing now is not just a talk or an emotional piece of writing. This is not merely a beautiful idea or a passing source of inspiration. This is my confirmation that I see you, that I have traced every step you have taken in order to arrive exactly where you are standing. When you hear the words, "Do not fear people more than me," do not miss the hour when I open the door. They are not just general pieces of advice. They are my hand placed on your shoulder as I speak to you by your own name. I am drawing you out of the fog of people's opinions and into the light of knowing that your Father in heaven sees you and calls you personally. My voice is not like the voice of the world, because my voice is not based on your present merits, but on what I have ordained for you from the beginning. I am the Lord your God. I do nothing just for the sake of it. I do not speak a single word that does not carry eternal weight. When I allow a message to touch your heart, it is because I have hidden within it the answer to the confusion you are facing. I do not play with your tears, nor do I play with your hope. If I remind you to guard your heart, your ears, your focus, it is because I know exactly what is threatening you in the season ahead. If I tell you that victory is near, it is because I see the timelines you cannot see. While you see only a present tangled with memories, I see the beginning, the middle, and the end all at once. I know precisely where you are prone to stumble, where you are likely to turn back, where you are inclined to stop because you fear people's words more than losing my voice. Therefore, do not take this moment lightly. Do not just scroll past it as a piece of good content and then leave it there. Let these words remain, seeping into the places you usually keep closed. Let them question you, who is directing your steps, the eyes of people, or the eyes of your Father, who is defining who you are, your past, the mockery, or the call of the one who created you. Be honest before me about your fear of public opinion, about the times you stayed silent because you were afraid of being criticized, about the dreams you have hidden away because you were afraid of people's laughter. I do not despise those weaknesses. I simply do not want them to bind you any longer. When you dare to lay them bare before me, I begin to untie each knot, one by one. From this point on, what I long for is that you gradually shift from fearing what people think to fearing missing what I am doing. I want you to tremble not because of criticism, but because you realize that if you keep stepping back, keep hiding, keep letting public opinion rule you, you may end up standing on the sidelines while I am opening doors for those who dare to trust me. I am not excluding you, but I will not force you either. I invite you into a new realm, the realm of those who dare to live for me rather than for their image in the eyes of others. There you will taste a sweet freedom, not the freedom to do whatever you like, but the freedom of no longer being gripped by those judgmental whispers. My child, treat my word to you today as a marker. From this point, you can choose to go on living as before, always looking over your shoulder, weighing people's reactions before every step, or you can begin to ask a different question. Does this bring me closer to him? Does this distort or restore his image in my heart? If the answer is yes, in the direction of me, then step forward boldly. Even if people do not yet understand, even if some disagree. But if the answer leans toward merely making you look better in the eyes of others while dimming my voice, then you know you need to let it go. I will not abandon a child who dares to choose me over choosing safety. And as you walk on from this moment, even if it is only a small change in the way you think, the way you react, the way you face other people's opinions, remember that you are not walking alone. The one who is speaking to you now is the same, one who will go with you in every hidden choice. I will bring these words back to your mind at the very moment you are about to slip back into your old way of living. I will stir in you a holy discomfort whenever you agree to let public opinion rule you, not to crush you with guilt, but to remind you that you have been called to something deeper, stronger, more beautiful than that. And then, little by little, you will see, as your heart is guarded, your ears learn to be selective, and your focus is set in the right place. The harvest I have spoken of will begin to take shape, not loudly, not ostentatiously, but clearly and surely. You will realize that no detail in your journey has been superfluous, and there has never been a moment when I came to you merely to fill a gap. Each time I touch you, I turn your path a little. Each word I speak marks a new milestone on the road you are walking, and the message you have just heard is one of those milestones, the place where you lift your head above the noise of people's voices and begin to fix your gaze more steadily on my eyes. The eyes of the one who has never done anything without embedding in it an eternal purpose for your soul. My child, when you dare to choose my voice over the noise of this world, something very gentle yet profound will take place in your heart. The spiritual doors you once thought were locked shut will begin to open one by one. It is not because you have suddenly become more worthy, but because now you are standing in the right place to see my hand at work. There are opportunities I prepared for you long ago, but only when you stop bowing your head before public opinion and turn your face back toward me will you realize they have always been there, waiting for you to step into them. You will begin to sense that it is not by chance that someone appears to support you, not by accident that an invitation is sent, not a coincidence that new crossroads open on the path you walk. All of these are my quiet fingerprints. For I have said, I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you. Psalm 3:2-8. And when my eye is upon you, there is no door I open that any slander or criticism from people can ever close again. But my child, when you step into a season of open doors, that is also the very time you must guard your heart more carefully than ever. For the enemy will not let you go simply because you have chosen me. It will look for another way to pull you out of focus. Sometimes by using things that seem reasonable enough. It will whisper to you to pause a little, just to relax, to compromise a little just to make life easier, to slow down in a kind of resignation so you will clash less with public opinion. Days that look the same repeat. Work sweeps you into its cycle. Conversations that lead nowhere. Endless hours scrolling across a screen. All these may feel like a thin mist. Yet, if you allow them to cover your heart for too long, the flame I have kindled in you will slowly grow dim. You will not notice it at once. It does not go out with one fierce gust of wind, but with 1,000 soft breezes of distraction. I remind you of this not to blame you, but to awaken you to guard what is most precious, the burning devotion of your heart for me, for I have spoken. Above all else, guard your heart, for from it flow the springs of life. Proverbs 4:2-3. If you can keep your heart, you will be able to keep your whole path. My child, this is not a season for you to walk without direction. This is a season in which I want to lead you step by step in my light. You were not born to grope your way through the dark, walking and guessing, living and constantly afraid of being wrong. I have placed my Holy Spirit within you, not as an abstract idea, but as a true comforter and guide. There are moments when you feel confused by choices, unsure whether to turn left or right, whether to continue or to stop. It is precisely in those moments that, if you are willing to be still long enough and turn back to ask me, you will realize that I am gently inclining your heart toward the right path. I do not lead you by thunder, but by a gentle inner voice, a quiet prompting that makes you restless with what does not belong to you and gives you deep peace about what I have prepared. Your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path. Psalm 119:105. Not for you to hold as a mere token, but for you to truly let it shine on each step. As you walk in my presence, you will find that you no longer have to live by guesswork, but by a tender assurance that I am walking beside you. I know there are seasons when you feel you are merely existing rather than truly living. Day after day looks the same. Dreams seem to stand still. Promises seem delayed. I know there are nights when you lie down and quietly ask in your heart, Lord, is this enough? Am I really on the right path, or am I just consoling myself in those moments? The voice of giving up often sounds the loudest. Weariness presses on your chest like a stone, trying to pin you down until you no longer want to try. But my beloved, right at the border between wanting to quit and getting up one more time, heaven is watching you the closest. I tell you, this is not a full stop, but a colon opening into a new part of the story. What you are going through is not a wall at the end of the road, but a disguised door. I allow you to reach the limit of your endurance, not so that you will break, but so that you will clearly see where your strength ends and where my grace begins. Do not be quick to conclude the story while I have not yet put my pen to the final line. My child, there are things about to come into your life that you cannot yet imagine. Just as a child cannot fathom the breadth of the sea when it has only ever seen a small pond, I am preparing works, relationships, doors, and opportunities that, even if I told you all of them now, your mind could not contain. Instead of trying to figure everything out, learn to trust more deeply. I do not call you to be the one who explains every detail of my ways. I call you to be the one who walks in obedience. Even before you understand the whole context, you may not understand why I seem slow, why I am silent, why the road you walk is sometimes winding and steep, but you can choose to believe that I am never careless with any detail. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. Isaiah 5:8. These words are not given so you will stop thinking, but so you will know the limits of your reasoning and lean more fully on my will. Do not let your heart be drained dry by questions I have not yet promised to answer. Do not allow small details to make you doubt the entirety of my heart for you. When you keep circling around the question why, you will wear yourself out. But when you begin to ask, Lord, what do you want me to learn in this? You will begin to grow. I do not promise that every question will be explained in this life, but I promise that nothing you entrust to me in faith will ever be wasted. The things you do not understand today I will weave together later, so that one day, when you look back, you will whisper through tears, "So, you did not lose even a single piece of my life." In that moment you will thank me not only because I answered your prayers, but also because the prayers you thought were forgotten became the very foundation for things you never even dared to ask for. My dear one, hold firmly to this. I have not only made promises to you, I have already begun to fulfill what I have spoken. If your spiritual eyes were opened, you would see the quiet movements around you. People, I am slowly bringing closer. Old doors closing so that new paths can appear. Dreams that seemed dead, rising gently again in your heart. This is not positive thinking. It is the sign that I am actively moving in your life. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Philippians 1:6. I do not begin only to abandon halfway. You may pause because you are tired, but I do not stop. You may not see the future, but I still see the whole journey. What I ask of you is not perfection, but daily faithfulness. Faithfulness in ordinary mornings, in quiet hours of work, in hidden moments when no one sees, and you still choose to live honestly before me. Therefore, my child, do not strain to make yourself worthy of the promise, but immerse yourself in my presence so that you may be renewed. When you are weak, speak to me. Do not hide. When you are afraid, call my name. Do not run away. When you are drowning in your thoughts, open your mouth in praise instead of sitting alone with your worries. Do not chase after proving what I have spoken. Let me prove it myself through your life. Put your feet into the small tasks I entrust to you, and you will see my arm opening up things you never dreamed of. People may not understand your choices. They may mock you when you dare to obey me. But on the day I defend you, they themselves will have to admit that something very different has happened in your life. And as you continue to walk on, not in fear of public opinion but in reverence for me, you will discover something wonderful. What matters most will no longer be where you stand in the eyes of others, but whether you are in the right place, in my eyes. Then every door I open will no longer be a reason for you to worry about what people will think, but an opportunity for you to express your heart to me by using it faithfully and humbly. You will no longer live in constant fear that doors will slam shut on you, because you will know that what determines your life is not the hand of others, but my hand. The one who has begun is continuing and will complete everything I have spoken over your life. For this reason, my child, I want you to understand that what is happening around you is not random or meaningless. I have stirred the heavens. I have set the unseen realm in motion. I have sent angels ahead of you to prepare the way in places you cannot reach and to adjust details your mind could never control. and all for one purpose, that the time I have appointed for your life may be fulfilled, and that what I have spoken in secret may be revealed in the open. While you are still bewildered by your circumstances, I have already been changing the landscape where your eyes cannot see. I have touched the hearts of people you have never met. I have shifted the setting, opening pathways where everything once seemed shut. Now the only thing I seek in you is not extraordinary strength or superior wisdom, but a heart that is still willing to listen, a mind that is still willing to soften before me, a soul that refuses to let disappointment and weariness quietly choke the faith you had at first. I need you to remain in fellowship with me, not because I lack anything, but because if you disconnect yourself from the source of life, then, even though I have arranged everything, you can still miss it simply because you are no longer sensitive enough to recognize it. So I plead with you, do not close the door of your heart. Do not let old wounds force you into silence before me. Do not let people's words, moments of being despised, or prayers that seem unanswered turn you into someone who builds walls around yourself. Let your heart stay open, for only then can you discern what is my voice and what is the noise of the world. Only then will you clearly see my hand at work behind each seemingly meaningless upheaval of recent days. Remember, the moment I have appointed is still drawing near. The spiritual clock I started in your life has never stopped, not even for a beat. Every morning you wake up, every night you toss and turn, every time you sigh from weariness, all of it is being counted into that timeline. Each small moment is quietly bringing you closer to the point when my word will become reality. When that day comes, when your eyes see what you have long carried only as a fragile hope in your heart, you will be astonished to realize that not a single time you knelt was unnecessary. Not one sleepless night was wasted. Not one cry of anguish fell into an empty void. Everything has been gathered, pressed down, accumulated like waters rising behind a dam, waiting only for me to say, it is time, and it will burst forth as a flood of blessing over you. You will look back and understand why I allowed delays, detours, and moments when you felt abandoned, for these very things have trained your soul, making it deep enough to hold what I am about to give. For a great promise placed on a shallow heart will only cause a person to shatter, but a great promise laid upon a heart that has been refined by fire will become a blessing to many others. I assure you I have not brought you along a long road just so you would stop at the finish line. I have not led you through winding seasons of testing, through times of being misunderstood, through doors slammed in your face, only to leave you standing right beside the wall of the promise. That is not my nature. I am the one who begins and also the one who completes. I am not a builder who leaves a house half finished and abandoned on cold ground. If today you still find yourself alive, still longing, still stirred whenever you hear my name, that is a sign that I have not finished the story with you, that the next chapter is still being written, that you are not a minor character scratched out halfway through. Therefore I ask you, do not surrender to weariness. Do not let lukewarmness quietly erode what is still beautiful within you. I know there have been moments when you wanted to shut every door, to stop believing, stop hoping, stop expecting anything more so that you would not have to hurt again. But my child, if you allow your soul to freeze like that, you yourself will become the one who breaks down the bridge leading to the harvest you have watered with your own tears. I have seen many come close to the tipping point of a miracle, and then, because of a few critical words, a few cold glances, a few prayers that seemed unanswered, they accept compromise and choose an easier but wrong path. As a result, what I long to give them remains hanging forever in the realm of not yet. I do not want this to be repeated in you. I do not want to see the child I love, who agreed to walk with me through so many barren seasons, turn away just as the skies are beginning to gather rain. So I remind you to grip my hand even more tightly, to let your ears be more attuned to my voice than to any other sound, to keep your heart still capable of trembling when it hears the things that belong to me. Do not let indifference cover over your first love. Do not let the fire in you die down to cold ashes just because you are tired of waiting. If you do not have the strength to run, slow your pace, but do not leave the ranks. If you no longer have the strength to speak, sigh to me, but do not walk away in silence. If your tears are more than your words, let those very tears become your cry in place of your mouth. I do not need polished prayers. I need sincerity. For wherever there is honesty, there I still have room to act. Remember, coldness does not arrive all at once. It slips in little by little, through small compromises, through moments when you allow yourself to avoid me, through choices where you place human opinions above my word. So today I tell you gently, yet firmly, guard your heart. For from it, all the issues of life flow. If you can keep a heart burning in a world grown cold, you will be the place where I kindle fire for many others. If you dare to stand firm while the crowd wavers, you will be a living testimony that I truly can transform a life that clings to me to the very end. And it is precisely when you decide not to let discouragement and coldness steal your portion that you will see the doors I have spoken of so many times begin to open, not because you force them, but because my own hand opens them for the child who has chosen to trust me to the very end. Right now, as you are sitting here allowing your heart to open to the words I am speaking, you may not realize that this is not just a few minutes passing amid countless other pieces of content out there, but a very special moment in your spiritual life, a moment when the unseen realm is drawing very near to your reality, where I quietly step into that small space to ask you a very personal question. Do you still want to walk on with me? I am not looking for great feats from you. I am not waiting for you to do something loud and impressive. I am simply asking whether there is still a small yes in your heart for me, and so that this yes is not only in your thoughts. I invite you to use the very hands holding your phone, touching the screen, as a visible sign of what is happening invisibly. Respond to me with a simple action that carries spiritual meaning. You can press the button to show your agreement, to subscribe and stay connected to this channel, as a way of saying to me, I am still here. I am still listening. I still choose to remain in what you are speaking. To others it may look like just an ordinary tap, but to me, I see it as a seal in your soul, like the memorial stones my people once set up whenever I did something among them, to forever remind them, it was right here that the Lord met me. I know you may be thinking, how important can it be just to press one button? But my child, with me, no decision is small when it is made out of love for me and in response to my word. Every quiet step, every seemingly anonymous choice, I gather into a stream that carries you further into my purposes. When you dare to show your commitment, to publicly choose to remain under my voice, instead of scrolling past like so many others, you are trampling on the fear of public opinion in a very concrete way. You are no longer only listening to me in secret, but allowing your decision to leave a mark on the outside, like when someone raises their hands in worship in the midst of a crowd, like when a person dares to step forward to confess their faith. That small action is not insignificant to me at all. It tells me that you are not just listening for pleasure, not just moved for a moment, but that you are willing to let your heart be stirred until it moves you to act. In this world, where people can so easily switch off anything that does not please them, your choice to stay a little longer has already become a powerful declaration. I want you to understand that I see every one of those silent choices. I know when you intend to just scroll past, but then you stop, because something inside you says, listen to the end. Because what if the Lord is speaking to you, I notice every time you want to give up and then come back. Every moment you reopen the words I have spoken, just to remind yourself, God is still at work. When you hit subscribe, when you leave a sincere response, when you keep something like this saved to listen again. Do not think it is only a matter of habit or technology. I see it as stones you are laying down on the path of returning to me. I do not require you to make loud and spectacular declarations. I simply treasure the heart that says, I still want to stay connected. I still do not want to lose his voice among all the other sounds. To me, that is precious enough to be written down. For as it is written, nothing in all creation is hidden from his sight. Everything is uncovered and laid bare before the eyes of him to whom we must give account. And I, the one who sees what human eyes cannot see, know the true reason behind every action you take in secret. My child, when you choose to express your response through something so small, you are signing your name to a new commitment between you and me, not a perfect commitment, not a promise that you will never stumble again, but a commitment that says, even in my weakness, I still want to remain in the flow of your grace. The button you touch is not a magic charm that changes your life, but a sign for you yourself to remember that, in a very ordinary moment, you decided not to turn your back on that call. One day, when your heart is shaken, when you once again find yourself afraid of what people might think, you will need such markers to remind yourself, my heart once chose the Lord, and that day I dared to show it, so today I will choose him again. I do not use outward gestures to measure your worth, but I use them as a point of leverage to lift you up, because I know that you are dust, that you need things your physical eyes can see in order to remember what your spiritual eyes have once seen. Understand that to me, a single touch is not just a movement on a screen, but the picture of a deep decision. Wherever you touch, your heart is already moving toward that place. The world pulls your hand in every direction, inviting you to touch all kinds of content that draw your spirit away from me. But today, I invite you to use that same familiar gesture to turn back to me. You are not touching what is useless. You are touching what softens your heart, what stirs your faith again. When you do that with the awareness, I am doing this because I want to cooperate with what God is speaking. I want to stay connected to the source that nourishes my soul. That action becomes a wordless prayer. Amid so many things racing to measure and capture your attention, I delight to see you offer a portion of that attention to me. That is the portion I use to sow new seeds into your heart. I speak to you as a gentle father. Do not despise small choices. The doors I open in the spiritual realm are often pushed open by things that seem very small. One day, you will realize that the great turning points of your life did not begin with noisy events, but with an ordinary evening when you listened and quietly nodded your agreement with me. Today can be such a day, when you decide not just to listen and be done, but to mark in your heart, I want to continue this journey. You have taken one more step out of the fear of people's opinions and closer to the moment when I will defend you and lift you up. Others may not notice, but I, the one who has called you by your very name, take note of it all. As the promise says, your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you, and I reward not only with material things, but with inner renewal, with strength, with peace, and with a clear direction for the days ahead of you. So, my child, if you are sensing a gentle stirring in your heart, do not quench it. Do not say, maybe next time. Do not let embarrassment or the habit of just scrolling past everything pull you out of this moment. Respond to me in your own way. It may be a touch, a comment of confession, a decision to save this content, to remind yourself later, as long as it is something you do in honesty. I understand the spiritual meaning behind it. I see when you choose to stay a few minutes longer, even when your mind wants to go elsewhere. I cherish it when you say in your heart, I will not leave you halfway again. I want to go with you to the end. And that alone already gives me a reason to pour out on you what I have long prepared. Nothing you do out of love for me is ever wasted. Not even a hidden act that no one praises. When you choose to stand firm, to keep listening, to keep believing, you are opening over your life a new stream of water that connects what I have spoken with and what will unfold ahead. From this hidden place, I will lead you farther than you imagine. And one day, when you look back, you will realize that the first step of a new season was marked by a very simple decision you thought was insignificant, the decision to remain under my word. The decision not to let the fear of what people think become stronger than your longing to be close to me. And I, your Lord, the one who sees to the very bottom of your heart, will not forget a single choice you made just to belong to me a little more. My beloved child, you have walked through so many scrutinizing looks, so many comments and whispers, so many moments of asking whether you are worthy or not. But now I want to draw your gaze away from that noise so you can see a deeper truth. There is no moment in your life so small that it is unnecessary in my eyes. Those times you sat quietly in a dark room, feeling as though the whole world had forgotten your existence. I was still there, watching you, listening to the sobs that never became words. On those afternoons when you hurried through the crowd with a forced smile, trying to look fine before others while you felt empty inside. I was still walking with you at every step. On those nights when you tossed and turned, unable to find peace, your heart full of questions you did not dare share with anyone. I am the one who heard every trembling beat. You do not live in a cold universe. The entire story of your life lies in the palm of my hand, and no detail is left behind. I am not careless. I do not miscount your years, and I do not overlook a single tear that has fallen for my name's sake or because of the wounds I allowed. In order to teach you to grow in faith, you often think that only spiritual moments, when you pray fervently, serve passionately, give generously, have value before me, and that the moments of weakness, exhaustion, and weariness are hardly worth mentioning, but you are mistaken. I am present even when you do not feel spiritual at all, even when your prayer has become nothing but a tired sigh, when all you can say is, Lord, I am at the end of myself. I do not turn away in disappointment. In that very moment, I bend down closer. I hear the words you do not say. I see the tears you wipe away in haste. And I count every time you want to give up but still choose to cling to me. Each small moment you think is meaningless is actually an invisible line being carved into the story of your faith before heaven. I tell you this, there is no moment that is useless, no pain that is forgotten, no prayer that vanishes into the void when it reaches me from a sincere, even fragile, heart. My child, I am not a distant deity, too busy to remember the details of your life. I am not one who makes promises and then abandons them, leaving you to manage everything on your own. I do not speak empty words just to soothe you for a moment. When I speak, my very nature is bound to that word. So if my word were ever to fail, I would no longer be myself, but that will never happen. I am not confused, not slow, not powerless before any force that is set against you. If you look around and see that everything is still quiet, it is not because I have left you, but because I am quietly preparing something which, when it appears, will leave you and those watching you in awed silence. I am weaving, turning, rearranging the things you think are unrelated, so that suddenly, in a moment of my choosing, they will come together to form a new picture of your life, one you never even dared to dream. Therefore, I tell you, keep your ears open. Do not let negative voices, harsh judgments, or old memories of failure fill the inner space until there is no room left for my voice. I do not speak to you only in unusual moments. I often whisper through very ordinary things, a verse of scripture suddenly rising in your mind, a song that unexpectedly touches the painful place, a friend who accidentally speaks right into what you are hiding. This is how I gently nudge your soul. Be watchful, not in panic, but in the sensitivity of faith, so that you can discern when I am knocking on the door of a new season. You think everything will just stay dull and drawn out like this, but I am preparing a turning point. Do not let weariness make your ears heavy. Ask me to anoint your heart afresh, so you can hear every spiritual movement shifting around you. What I am about to do in your life will not be a small patch or minor adjustment, but a deep shift, so profound that when you look back you will see a clear boundary between before and after. I do not upgrade your life the way people update a software version. I reshape the way you see me, the way you see yourself, and the way you see the meaning of your life. There will be people who witness this turning point and still try to explain it as luck, coincidence, your own effort, favorable circumstances, or the help of this or that person, but you will know deep within that an unseen hand has intervened. I will act in such a way that no one, not even you, can boast. It was by my own strength. What I do will bear the clear mark of grace greater than your ability, beyond your expectations, surpassing the limits others have placed on you, and breaking even the boundaries you unconsciously built around yourself. You will see that there were doors you knocked on until your knuckles were raw, yet they remained closed. Relationships you begged to keep but that still broke apart. Opportunities you clung to that slipped from your grasp. You sat alone and concluded that you are a failure, that your life is cursed, that I have favored others more than you, but you have been looking from below, while I see from above. I know who you would become if those doors opened exactly as you wished. There would be connections that pulled you far from me, positions that fed your pride, successes that convinced you that you no longer needed me. So even though you cried and prayed, I was compelled to say no, and that no of yesterday has now become a saving you that you did not understand at the time. I have blocked many paths you intended to take, not because I am strict or harsh, but because I do not want you to stray into dead ends that are beautifully decorated. The enemy is very skilled at building roads that look bright and glamorous: fame, applause, the feeling of belonging to some group, being admired, being recognized, but deep inside, they pull your soul away from its true place of safety. I am not willing to trade your soul just so you do not feel inferior to the world. That is why I would rather let you go through seasons of disappointment, moments of staggering, and opportunities that seem completely lost, than allow you to walk through a door that would burn up everything I have been sowing in you all this time. Have you noticed that after each closed door, even though your heart hurt, you still had me, and then, over time, you began to see new pieces appear, a healthier relationship, a more peaceful direction, an environment more aligned with the nature I have placed inside you. At that point, you began to dimly realize that the breakdowns of the past were not meaningless at all. They are like speed limit signs on the road, reminding you not to rush ahead too fast, according to instinct, only to crash into a wall you cannot see. I have been quietly correcting your path, turning your steps, cutting away, adding in, like a patient potter, shaping the clay into the form he desires. What I am preparing for you is not merely an easier door, but the right door, right for your calling, your temperament, the abilities I have given, and above all, right for my eternal purpose for your soul. I do not want you to enter places that only make you feel a little less inferior for a moment. I want to bring you to where you live, in agreement with what I spoke over you from the very beginning. Therefore, do not define your worth by how many doors people open for you. Learn instead to look toward the door I am preparing, the door that, when you walk through it, you will no longer have to strain to prove who you are, because my very presence upon your life will speak for itself. So, my child, when you hear me speak of a coming change, do not shrink it down to the size of your fears or your past experiences. Do not quickly think, it will probably just be a little better than now. That's enough. For I am not the one who gives you just enough to get by. I do not lead you out of scorched lands just to put you in a barren place that is barely tolerable. I bring you into a space where your soul can grow, can breathe, and can bear fruit. What I do always has this purpose to restore my image in you, not merely to patch up the torn places on the outside. And when the time I have appointed comes, you will not need to try to impress anyone, because my intervention itself will be the greatest testimony. Those who are used to looking at you with contempt will stumble over their own explanations. Those who said you were nothing will be surprised by the peace, the stability, and the newness in you. But for you, the most precious thing will not be that they change their opinion. It will be that you realize I have never abandoned you, not even when everything seemed to be against you. You will understand that the closed doors, the shattered dreams, the blocked paths of years past were actually signs that I had been intervening very early to protect your soul. On that day, you will no longer look at the future with fear, fear of being judged, fear of lack, fear of losing, fear of falling behind, but with the eyes of a child who knows that their father holds the keys to every door. And instead of trembling at every decision, you will learn to ask me, Lord, which path will bring me closest to you? Then the fear of losing people's approval will give way to a better, holy fear, the fear of missing the moment when I stand at the door of your life and knock, the fear of straying from the path I have marked with my own tears, my answers to prayer, and the times I silently pulled you back from the edge. My beloved, I am leading you to that place where every part of your story, even the torn-out pages, is gathered up by me and woven into a new chapter that is more beautiful, deeper, and truer. Do not be quick to conclude that your life is nothing but loss. The lands that seem barren today may be the very places that will bloom tomorrow if you allow me to keep working. Let me be the one who decides which doors will close and which will open. Your part is to keep your heart soft, your ears open, and your feet ready. My part is to complete what I have begun in your life, in such a way that, when you look back, you can only bow your head and say, if it had not been the Lord, it could never have been this way. In this moment, I invite you to pause every noise, to close the door on every distraction, and to lift up to me the most genuine prayer from the depths of your heart, Almighty God. My beloved Father, today I come to you with a weary heart that does not want to give up. I confess that there have been moments when I was standing so close to what you had promised. Yet I wanted to turn away because the waiting felt too long, and the voices of doubt were echoing in my mind. Please forgive me for the times I let weariness and discouragement speak louder than your voice over my life. Lord, would you touch me once again? Renew my faith and strengthen me so that I do not, by my own will, step off the path you have chosen for me. Help me to look back on the times when you rescued me, made a way for me, and upheld me in the past, so that my heart is reminded that you are still at work even when I cannot see it. I lay down at the foot of the cross all my calculations, all my shortcuts, every desire to take care of myself in my own way. And I ask that you keep me standing firm until the moment I see your promises become reality in my life. Merciful Father, you who know my heart more deeply than I know myself, I come to you and lay before you every distraction that is pulling me away from your good and perfect will. I confess that there have been times when I feared the opinions of people more than I feared grieving your heart. I have allowed the looks, the comments, and the judgments of others to control my actions and decisions. Please forgive me, Lord, for the times I did not dare to obey your voice simply because I was afraid of being mocked, misunderstood, or looked down on. Lord, please place within me a holy fear of you that is greater than every other fear, so that I will choose what you say even when it means going against the crowd. Let my ears become sensitive to the voice of the Holy Spirit, and grant me courage to step out of every circle of human control and public opinion, so that I may live as someone who truly belongs to you and is no longer bound by the thoughts and judgments of people. Almighty God, I bow my head in gratitude because you did not allow me to drift away in my own spiritual slumber. There have been seasons when I lived as if there were still plenty of time, indulging in procrastination and remaining indifferent to your call. Yet in your mercy, you awakened me. I thank you for the warnings you have sent through your word, through circumstances, and through the people you have used to remind me that the spiritual clock is counting down. Thank you that you did not stay silent and let me be lost, but that you intervened and shook my soul so that I would realize I am drawing near to crucial crossroads. I know that without your grace, I could so easily have become someone who quits halfway. Today I give you thanks because you are still speaking to me and still disciplining me. And that very fact shows me that you still regard me as your child. Father, full of compassion, I thank you that you have never despised my tears. There have been nights when I wept alone, with no one to understand and no one to listen. Yet you were there beside me, quietly gathering every tear into your bottle. Thank you that you have not allowed my pain to be meaningless, but have used it like seeds sown into the ground which, in due season, blossom into comfort, maturity, and living testimonies. I thank you that through these wounds, I have learned to empathize more with others, to treasure grace more deeply, and to recognize that nothing I have today is something I deserve on my own. Without those seasons of brokenness, I might have remained proud and shallow. Today, I bow in gratitude because you have been present in every one of my hurts, and I believe you will continue to use all of them to work out a goodness far greater than anything I could imagine. I offer this prayer in the holy name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so that together we can build a strong and vibrant community of faith.